In this tutorial, we're going to talk about creating and customizing pages and layouts to fit your individual needs as a trader. As I've already mentioned, and I will continue most likely to mention, this platform can be tailored to fit your needs. It is customizable, so if something doesn't look the way you want it to look or feel the way you want it to feel, don't panic. We can fix it, we can change it. Now, on the left-hand side of the page, you're going to see a menu that's going to have pages at the top, and then at the bottom there's going to be available widgets, and then finally at the bottom there are settings that you can change. If you don't want to see these menu items, you can click this button here to make your screen bigger. We're going to talk about pages and setting them up the way that you want them to be. Depending on the version of the platform you have, you're going to probably have 2, 3, maybe even 4 pages here on the left-hand side that have little lock icons next to them. The lock icon tells us that these pages are locked in that they cannot be customized. They are what you see is what you get, and maybe what you see is what you get is exactly what you want. So if you'd like to use this platform out of the box without putting any work into it, keep things simple, there's nothing wrong with that. You might want to use this home page here, and again, you can't change it, but you might not need to. Let me explain what we're looking at here. This is the charting area, obviously. We can toggle between various tabs, and these tabs are actually linked to the quote board. You'll notice if I click on this symbol, the chart changes. If I click on this symbol, the chart changes accordingly. You'll also notice that the dome panel changes as I click. And obviously this is intentional, and it makes it very easy to place trades in any of the markets that are within this quote board. All we do is click on the market we want to trade, and then we can do it from here. We can also buy or sell directly from the quote board. Any orders that we place can be seen on an orders tab below. We can also see any open positions using this tab. Account summary graphics, account summary to see our balances, fills, and working orders. For a lot of traders, this is probably absolutely sufficient. And I will also note that if you click on any of these full screen icons in the upper right hand corner of the page, it will expand it, and you can very easily dock it back to where it was by hitting it again. If I go to full screen, I can see all of my quotes here. Exit full screen. We can do that with any window or widget that's open in this platform. You can go to full screen by clicking this icon. And I will explain to you how these windows are linked. If you notice, there is a blue dot right here on each of these tabs. This is not a coincidence. Actually, if I put my cursor over it, it tells us this widget receives symbols and or accounts, and that means it's linked. In English, that means linked. So if there is a matching colored dot in the window, they are linked and they communicate with each other. Clicking or changing one will change all 3. In this particular page, because it is locked and it's not customizable, we cannot unlink or link or make changes to that. However, I will show you once we build a custom page, you can choose which windows you want to link to each other, and you can even have different colored dots. So if you wanted your quote board to link to the dome panel, but not the charts, you could do that. Although you can't customize these pages because they're locked, you can add and subtract various quotes. So if you wanted to see something other than just the stock indices, which is what this is displaying, this is obviously a page that's set up for trading futures outright. This is probably going to fit the needs for most of our clients, but we have created pages that we think are going to be a little more fully encompassing to everybody and have quite a few more features than these default pages. I will show you those in a minute. And also, as a side note, if you're a client of ours or if you're trying a demo, our version of the platform, send me an email and I can send you links to these pages so that you can add them right into your platform and you don't have to rebuild them. We've done the work for you. So a basic trader may use this page, the home page, for their futures. They may also want a simple quote board. This again is locked, so you can't change it, but it gives you all of the information you need on various markets in one single view. As we build custom pages, I'll show you there's a lot more we can do with these types of widgets, but again, this is just a basic design. And the nice thing about having these locked pages, even if you don't use them, if for some odd reason you accidentally delete a page that you built, these are always going to be there, so you can at least go in and do basic functions like get quotes and charts and place trades. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you, but things happen, trust me. So the third default page, locked page again, is a simple option chain. At the bottom, you're going to find volume and open interest. For calls and puts, you're going to see, this is a demo and it doesn't have the Greeks, but in a live account, you would see the Greeks populate. You're going to see bids and asks, those sorts of things. You can obviously place trades. And there's some very convenient tabs that allow you to see your fills, your working orders, and your canceled orders. So these are very capable windows, or pages, or layouts, or workspaces, however you want to describe them. They're technically called pages in this platform, but you can call them anything you want. One other thing I'd like to point out is on the right-hand side, I told you could collapse this left-hand menu by clicking this, and that gives you more real estate. On the right-hand side, there's also a menu that you can expand or collapse, depending on your needs. Within this right side menu, you're going to see symbol information, which is quite nice. It'll tell you open closing times, high lows. Just as a tip and trick, this confused a lot of people. CONTR volume, that's actually today's contract volume, yesterday's contract volume, previous sessions, contract open interest. So contract is not control, it's contract, and T is today, Y is yesterday, P is previous. Not sure why they made it so confusing, but they did. We've had a lot of questions on that. So on this right-hand menu, if you unhighlight it, you see how this one's blue and the others are gray? I'm going to unhighlight it, and that means it's not active. If I click on the alerts icon, that's active. If you had a price alert, this is where you would find it, and you can add price alerts by clicking on this button. We'll kind of go over that later, but I just wanted to show you this feature. And finally, if you highlighted the blue, this is messages. This isn't like an instant messaging system. It's not like Skype or Facebook Messenger or whatever it is that you use. This is messages from the system. So if you place an order and it's rejected, or if there's some sort of margin change or something, it might pop up in here, but it's not going to show you your friends chatting. If you click on the middle section, it's going to show you any orders and system messages like rejected orders, that sort of thing. But if you click all, it's going to show you all of it. Let's take a look at some of the pages that I've created for our DeCarley trading clients. We're going to start with DT View, and this is intended to be a one-all be-all for almost all traders. And you'll see that it also might look a little familiar to you if you were on our previous platform, the Zaner 360. I've designed it in a way that everything is in about the same place it was in that particular platform, assuming you went with our default layout. I'll start by showing you these color links. You'll notice I have everything linked. All the widgets I have linked so that they all communicate with each other. Again, we'll just show you how that works. If I click on natural gas in my quote board, the chart becomes natural gas. The order ticket changes to natural gas. If I want a dome panel, it also switches to natural gas. So everything is linked. Some of you might be looking at this chart and thinking, yeah, I can't do much with that. And I would agree. You can't do a whole lot with a little chart like that. So if you just click full screen, you'll get probably everything you need. And I'm going to minimize that again. It's very easy. It pops right back into place. So with this particular layout that we've created, we emphasize the importance of seeing everything all on one page, even if it means you have to expand a little bit to see a little better. So we'll start up here on the upper left-hand side. This is our positions window. I'm going to go ahead and buy a natural gas at the market. We'll go over order tickets in a different a later tutorial, but just want to show you what these might look like here. So once I've placed the trade, it was a market order, so it was filled right away. I have it here in my positions window. See, this tab is selected, it's positions. I can also have a tab for position by commodity, and I can filter. We're going to put a couple more trades in here, and I'll show you how that works. Let's go short crude oil. We will buy gold. We're also going to put a few working orders in here that may not get filled, but we'll see what they look. That'll give us the opportunity to see what they look like here. And I'll explain the order ticket. I know it looks like a lot to comprehend, and maybe it is, but it's a lot simpler with a few tips and tricks, and I'll give those to you as soon as we get a little further into the tutorials here. Okay, we'll do one more. We'll also add some soybeans. If you're not the type of person that likes to toggle up, toggle down, scroll around, there is a dome panel. If we just click on, in this particular layout, if we click on this second tab, it shows us a dome panel, and again we can expand that so we have a little more real estate to work with. I'm not a dome user, but I know a lot of people are, so the nice thing is you get to pick what works best for you. Okay, so now we have some positions and we have some working orders for testing purposes, and this is going to give you a good example of how things are going to work. Now, I've customized these windows, so if you start from scratch and you start opening these widgets and seeing they look a little different, it's because they do. I have arranged for these icons to be visible. I've made sure that the information that I think most of our clients need is right here in each of these rows, but you can change what you see and what you don't see. In any of these windows, there's 3 dots on the upper right hand corner, and if you click on that, you can choose Manage Columns. And if I select Manage Columns, it gives me the opportunity to, by the way, if you click on In Window, that's going to show you what's already visible in your window, and you can move them around. I can hit the trash can icon if I want to remove it. I can drag and drop if I want to. If you hit Library, it's going to show you things that are not visible in your window. And if you want to add them, you can. Just by clicking them, highlighting them, and then click Add. I'm not going to do that, but we could if we wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and close this. So once you get each and every item that you want to see visible in your window, and again, you can do that with the positions window, you can do that with the working orders window by clicking on the 3 dots. If you're building your workspace or your page from scratch and you don't see these icons at the left hand side, you can make them visible by right clicking on these 3 buttons and then choosing Show Position Action. See, if I uncheck those, they disappear, but I like those to be visible because what they do for me is they allow very quick liquidation of a position. The circle with an X, if you click on it, it liquidates a position. If you click the up-down arrows, it'll reverse a position. And if you click the square box with an X, it'll close it. You might be asking yourself, what's the difference between liquidate and close? And that's a good question. If you hit liquidate, it's going to create a market order. And then an order ticket will pop up and you can confirm it, but it is a market order. See, market. If you choose close, it's going to pull up an order ticket and you can place a limit order or however you want to do it, a stop order. Something that's really neat about this platform is you can organize your positions pretty easily. Like let's say you have a spread on in crude oil options. You can just simply type CL into the filter or whatever the symbol is of the commodity you want to filter, and it'll only show you the positions with those letters and the symbol. So if we had several natural gas positions, maybe we have December, January, February, but we want to look at only our natural gas positions and nothing else, we can just type into the filter box and sort that way. The positions by commodity tab that I've created is a little bit different layout. It's not to show you your entry price and all those sorts of things, but it's going to show you your positions. You can see it's a red one, that means we're short one. The green ones mean we're long one. You can also go to purchase and sale. I'm going to go ahead and liquidate my crude oil. I was filled on this order. The order notification pops up. I'm going to close out of that. I will go over that in a little more detail in a later tutorial. But now that we're out of that position, if I go to purchase and sale, it's going to show us what our profit and loss was on each individual trade. If we had multiple trades, I could expand. By clicking this button here, we can expand and see more detail. In the middle of the page, we see our working orders. This tab is pretty similar to the positions tab, but these are obviously orders that are working that have not been filled. And again, you have a filter here, so if you only wanted to see the orders you have working for soybeans, you could type in the symbol and it'll filter those for you. If you really wanted to get creative with these, you could create your own custom filter. And of course, in our working orders area, we can also look at fills. And we can also look at all of our orders. So the orders tab includes all working, canceled, filled. Anything that we've done today in this particular session or this login is here. One more time, we can click on the 3 buttons and manage our columns if we'd like to. Let's say that you like the layout that we created for you, but you want to make a few small changes. For example, maybe you want to reorder some of these things. I could click on a tab and drag it to change its position. We could do the same in this window. So any tab that you want to change the order of, you can simply drag and drop. And if you really wanted to spice things up, you could drag it into a whole different area. I could add it as a tab here. You'll notice as I'm dragging, a gray box tells us where the drop will actually land. So if it's going to land as a tab, it's going to show me like that. If I'm going to place it in an entire window, taking up this entire real estate, I could do it there. On the bottom corner of the page, we have our quote screen. And I know it's a lot of information in a very small space, but again, we can expand it. This is what we would see. So nice and easy to read. What I've added to this quote board that you won't see on a default quote board is I've placed order information, like how many buys and how many sells you have working in a column, and I've also placed the position information and profit and loss information right there on the quote board. So this tells me I have an order working in treasury bonds that has not been filled. This tells me I have a soybean order working that has not been filled. In this column, I can see that I'm long one natural gas and I'm making $50. In this column, I am, of course, this is a demo account and I'm not making or losing anything, but in this particular account, I'm long one gold and making $100. You can see that we can easily buy and sell right here from the quote board if we wanted to. So if I click on natural gas and I click sell, that's going to enter an order to sell natural gas, and that would liquidate my position. I can also click on the column itself. If I click on the position, I can choose liquidate, reverse, close, or I can open it in a widget, which would open an order ticket. And finally, another feature that I've added to the quote board is this option chain opening buttons. So as we're toggling around, we can open an option chain very simply by clicking on this arrow and populating the chain. It'll open up as a new tab on our quote board. I've also added these columns to the quote board: first notice date and expiration. So if you're trading a futures contract, you need to know when first notice date is. It's more important than expiration. You can see this is the 30-year Treasury bond. First notice date is the 29th of November, but the contract doesn't expire until the 19th. A lot of platforms and a lot of traders focus on the expiration date, but that's incorrect. You need to be out of your position before first notice day. So by having this number in our quote board, it makes it a lot easier to make sure that everybody gets rolled over in time before going into the delivery process. And of course, nobody's going to receive 5,000 bushels of corn or soybeans. We will help you roll it and get you taken care of before it gets to that point. And the worst case scenario is if it slips through the cracks and you forget to roll, might cost you a few $100 to get out of the obligation. So it's no fun. We don't recommend it. We do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen, but you're not going to receive 5,000 bushels of soybeans. And hopefully this quote board makes it a lot easier for you to manage that unlikely risk. One last thing about the quote board is you can actually place option symbols into the quote board. Now I'm doing this tutorial video during an overnight session, so there's not a ton of liquidity flowing through and options are thin anyway. But this will just give you an idea of how it would work. I've got some option symbols loaded here. I see the bid ask, I see the last trading price. If you had any positions on, and this is a demo that doesn't offer option trading, so unfortunately I can't show you, but I have buys and sells and open profit here as a column, so that if you did have some option positions in any of these symbols, your long or short positions and your profit and loss would show here. I also have expiration dates so that you can keep tabs on when your option's expiring very easily. And because these symbols get a little bit lengthy and confusing, I have a description window, or I should say description column, that will give you in English what it is that you're looking at. And of course, in the quote board, you can have tabs for all the different sectors that you would like to monitor. You don't have to have all of these. If you use our layout and you don't want them, you can simply just X out and close it out using this button here. But again, you'll see, I'm just going to point this out one more time, you're going to see these blue dots here, and that's because I have everything linked to each other. If I click on this, I can change the color of these. So let's say, for example, I wanted only certain pages or only certain widgets to link with each other and others to link with others. I could actually color code everything to make it do exactly what I wanted it to do. So again, to collapse the full screen, I just click this icon here for exit full screen, and it goes right back into the situation that it was in before. Finally, on the upper right hand corner, we have the account summary page. You can view your account summary as a graphic if that's easier. Or if you like numbers, you can look at it that way. One more thing I'd like to point out before we move on to custom windows is there is a watch list heat board here. And you can see which markets are moving and which are quiet off of your watch list. I should have pointed out on the quote board, we have currencies, energies, grains, but I also created a watch list of just popular commodities. So you can see S&P, treasuries, gold, all the things that most people want to pay attention to the most are right there in a watch list. Of course, you can alter that. You can add symbols by clicking on this plus button, and you can search for various symbols such as corn. You can type in the word or you can start typing in the symbol. Now, I will admit that the most difficult part of this trading platform is the symbols are different than what they are in most other platforms. So that's going to take a little getting used to, that's for sure. And one more neat feature that I've added to this layout is you can see the daily high, low, and settlement price for any particular market, also the open interest, going back through the contract history, or at least a month or two. But it gives you a really good idea of where we've been, and maybe you can guess where we're going. And again, these are linked. So if I click on gold, the window changes. If I click on corn, we get the corn prices again, and I can expand it to get a better view. That concludes the tour of the DT View page that we've created for our clients. If you like what we've done, but you want to make some big changes and you also want to preserve the original page, you can click on these three dots here and choose duplicate page. That'll basically just copy everything that we've done here and make it into a new page so that you can customize it accordingly. If you like what the platform vendor has created for you, you could recreate these pages by going to Add Page, and you could choose Home, and that will load a brand new page identical to this home page, but without the lock. So you'll be able to change it and move things around and add and subtract and do what you want to do. Or finally, if you want to start absolutely from scratch, you can click on Add Page. You can load an empty page, and we're just going to name it Test. And from here, you can choose what you want to start with. If you want to start with an area chart, you can click here, and you can simply add widgets as you see fit. You can either go to the menu here on the left. Let's do something fun. We can add a scrolling ticker. Anytime you want to open a quote board of any type, it's going to ask you what quotes should we open. And there are pre-built lists for you. You can choose currencies, energies, grains. I've created a few that I've shared with my clients, and they may be in there if you're one of our clients, or you can create your own by clicking New List. But I'm going to go to one that we've created. It's just a simple watch list with a handful of commodities. And you can see I've got a ticker right here at the top. You'll notice that this is a separate tab from the chart. So ideally you'd want a ticker above the chart, not on a different tab where you can't see both. So I can drag and drop and rearrange things to have this ticker up at the top. I can have my chart at the bottom. If I'd like to sneak in a DOM panel, I can click on Trade and then Hot Order Ticket. That's a DOM panel. This is just a regular old order ticket. I'm going to click on a DOM, and again I'm going to drag it to the side of the page. We might also want to add a heat map. I'm going to go ahead and choose watch list for that one as well, just to make things simple. And you'll see the heat map's going to show us which products on that particular list that we chose are moving the most. These are the biggest percentage moves will be the largest box, and the quietest markets will be the smaller boxes. I personally don't find a whole lot of use out of the heat map, but to each their own. And if you really wanted to, you could trade right out of the heat map. So if I click on a symbol, this is gold, I can then buy or sell gold right from my heat map. So you can imagine with all of these various choices just how creative you can get. There's a traditional quote board. This is a very simple, compact quote board that you could fit into your space without taking up a whole lot of real estate if you want to do it that way. And again, same situation. If you click on it, you could buy or sell. There are quite a few different things you can do with this. I'm going to leave it to you to experiment and to play around. If you're wondering, the quote board that I built, it was a quote spreadsheet. This is what I prefer. Again, you don't have to like it. You can choose a different format. This is the default format, and you can see there's not a whole lot of information. As I told you before, you can add columns by clicking on these three dots and then choose Manage Columns. And if you go to In Window, it's going to show you what's already visible. If you go to All Columns, it's going to show you what is available. And if you really want to filter them out, you can click on, instead of All Columns, you can click on various sectors or types of columns, informational sectors, we could say. If building a page from scratch is just too much for you, I totally understand that. Again, I'm going to delete this one and I'll show you one more time. If you want to start with the bones that they've created, go to Add Page, click Home, and it's going to create a duplicate of that page, and you can customize it any way you want to customize it. I'm going to delete that. You could also do it with one of our pages, one of the pages we created and shared with you. You can click on the three dots, duplicate it, and then you can click here and name it something else if you'd like to. Rename Manage Page and change it to anything you want it to be. But I feel like starting from scratch is probably ambitious. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk about setting price alerts.